Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're stepping up to the plate today for a baseball showdown you won't find in any major league stadium.
Oh, yeah. And where are we headed?
We're going deep into the Roy Hobbs World Series.
Yeah, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Players 70 and older are still proving they've got game.
70 and older. Wow. So what kind of inside scoop do we have on this? Where'd you dig this up from?
It's straight from the field. The Inside Pitch newsletter from the Roy Hobbs World Series itself.
Straight from the source. Now that's what I call a deep dive.
All right, so get ready for some curveballs as we unpack this tournament. Teams from all over the U.S. and Canada battling it out in two divisions.
Two divisions. So how do they break that down?
Timeless for those 70 and up, and classic.
Classic. So is that like a little bit younger?
Yeah, for the young guns starting at 60.
60. Man, I wish I could still play like that. What else is going on in this tournament?
I'm glad you asked. We're seeing some seriously iconic names out there.
Like what?
Dodgers and Yankees.
Wait a minute, Dodgers and Yankees? Like the actual Dodgers and Yankees?
Well, not quite as you know them.
Okay, now you've got me intrigued.
Picture this. The New Jersey Dodgers, the Florida Yankees,
Okay.
the Bergen Yankees, even the Livingston Dodgers, and the St. Louis Dodgers.
Whoa, hold on. How could there be so many Dodgers and Yankees teams running around?
Yeah.
I mean, aren't those names kind of taken?
You'd think. But turns out a lot of these teams have hometowns that have nothing to do with the big league Dodgers or Yankees.
So it's all just a coincidence.
Pretty much.
Fair enough.
For instance, the St. Louis Dodgers.
They're from?
St. Louis.
Y'all figure.
And get this, the Livingston Dodgers picked their name because Yankees was already taken in their local league.
Talk about a missed connection.
Right, so we've got Dodger versus Yankee showdowns happening all over the place.
But with teams that might not actually be diehard fans of those MLB teams.
Now that's where it gets even wilder.
Oh, it's more.
A lot of the guys playing for these Dodgers and Yankees teams are actually fans of other teams.
Wait a minute. You're telling me there are Yankee fans on the Dodgers and vice versa.
You got it.
This is unbelievable. Has the baseball world gone topsy-turvy?
Maybe a little. But that's the beauty of the Roy Hobbs World Series.
How so?
It's less about hardcore fandom and more about a pure love for the game.
Okay, so it's about the love of the game, not necessarily the name on the jersey. I can dig that. But what about some examples? Surely there are some diehard fans in there somewhere.
Oh, there are? Take Rob Hub-Smith and Jose Garcia from the Bergen Yankees. These guys are lifelong Yankee fans. They can still remember their first trips to Yankee Stadium like it was yesterday.
Wow, that's awesome.
But out here in the Roy Hobbs World Series, they're rocking those Bergen Yankees pinstripes with pride.
Now, what about the guys on the Dodgers teams? Are we talking about all a different breed of fan?
Well, we've got a mixed bag. Doug Garston from the New Jersey Dodgers is actually a Yankees fan.
What?
He's admitted he didn't think the Yankees would win the World Series.
That's great.
Then you've got Rich DeGener playing for the Florida Yankees, but he's a St. Louis Cardinals fan at heart.
Wait a minute, a Cardinals fan on a Yankees team? That's wild. Now that's dedication.
Right.
Are there any Dodgers fans on the Dodgers teams at least?
Of course.
Yeah.
Greg Saylor from the St. Louis Dodgers is a true blue Dodgers fan, all thanks to their spring training being in Vero Beach where he grew up.
I love it. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I love it.
It's like all these guys have reached this point where it's less about the rivalry and more about celebrating a shared love for the game.
It really is. And you want to hear something hilarious?
Always.
The Livingston Dodgers, they make any Yankee fans on their team pay extra dues.
No way. Really? Got to admire the dedication to keeping the rivalry alive, even if it's all in good fun.
Right. I wonder if they give a discount to Cardinals fans considering Rich DeGener's allegiance.
Maybe we should ask.
Speaking of legends.
Yeah.
Did you know there's even a Roy Hobbs Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame?
For senior league ball players.
That's fantastic. What kind of players are we talking about?
Well, the newsletter doesn't give us all the details, but we do know one of the Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
A guy named Doc Pollock.
Doc Pollock.
He even played for the New Jersey Dodgers in this tournament.
No kidding. A Hall of Famer sharing the field with everyday guys who just love the game.
That's what makes this whole thing so special.
It really is. What else is going on in this tournament? Are there any other special events?
Well, they actually held a special Veterans Day game.
A Veterans Day game.
To honor those who served.
Now, that's amazing. You can't get much more American than that.
Exactly. It shows just how much heart and meaning are woven into this tournament.
This is getting me pumped. It's like we're at a real game.
All right. Hit me with some scores. Give me the highlights.
All right. You got it. Let's start with the timeless division.
Okay.
The South Jersey Spikes, they're undefeated, winning both their games.
Wow. That's awesome.
And only allowing 2 runs. Talk about dominating. 2 runs. That's some serious defense. What about the Classic Division? Any undefeated teams over there?
You bet. The Border City Brewers. They're also undefeated, holding it down with 3 wins and only 6 runs allowed.
3 wins and only 6 runs. These guys are tough.
They are.
Any other standout moments we should know about?
Plenty. In the Classics division, the Albany Cubs crushed the Lansing Blue Jays 16-1.
Wow. 16-1. Now that's a blowout.
It was. Mike Jordan from the Cubs was on fire, driving in 4 runs with just 2 hits.
Talk about efficiency. What about the Baltimore Orioles? How did they do?
Oh, they lost to the Minnesota Bees.
Oh, that's too bad.
But Bob Moore had a great game, snagging 6 putouts at first base.
Hey, defense wins championships. What about the timeless division? Any close calls or major comebacks?
Oh, yeah. The Minnesota Bees had a nail-biter against the Baltimore Baseball Club, winning 13-10.
13-10. Sounds like a real barn burner.
It was. And the Florida Yankees had a tough loss earlier in the week.
Oh, too bad.
But they bounced back with a 14-6 win against the Minnesota Crosstown Traffic.
14-6. That's a great comeback.
It was. Roy Heron from the Yankees was the star of that game, racking up 4 hits, including 2 home runs and 5 RBIs.
Now that's a performance.
Talk about a comeback performance. This Roy Hobbs World Series is more than just a tournament.
What is it?
It's pure baseball magic.
You said it. And we're just getting started. Stay tuned, folks.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're still at the Roy Hobbs World Series, and the energy is electric.
You're telling me. We've got nail-biting finishes, incredible comebacks, and a whole lot of heart on the field. What else makes the Roy Hobbs World Series so unique?
Well, one thing that jumps out from this Inside Pitch newsletter is the emphasis on camaraderie.
Camaraderie.
Yeah, it's more than just winning or losing for these players.
We've definitely seen how many guys aren't even fans of the teams they're playing for.
Exactly. It's really all about sharing that love of the game.
So it's better more than just baseball.
It is. It's a chance to connect with old friends, make new ones, and just enjoy playing ball. And that welcoming spirit extends beyond the players, too.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, the newsletter mentions how the tournament organizers make everyone feel like family. They even encourage fans to participate in things like the 50-50 raffle.
A raffle?
Yeah. It helps support the Roy Hobbs Foundation.
Wait, a foundation?
Yeah, the Roy Hobbs Foundation.
Tell me more about that.
It's this fantastic initiative that raises money for leukemia research and supports challenged athletes.
Leukemia research. Wow, that's amazing.
I know. They've made significant contributions to organizations like the MD Anderson Cancer Center, St. Jude Hospital, and the Southern Florida Challenger athletes.
That's incredible.
Right?
It's amazing how they're using the tournament to give back.
It really speaks to the spirit of the Roy Hobbs World Series.
It does. Speaking of keeping things fair, did you know they have specific rules about playoff pitching?
Playoff pitching? Like what?
Well, to keep things balanced, any pitcher who's going to be a starter or a closer in a save situation has to qualify for the playoffs.
So they can't just bring in a ringer for the playoffs.
Exactly. They've got to pitch a certain number of innings during the regular games. That makes sense. It stops teams from stacking their playoff roster with fresh arms.
Exactly. It ensures that everyone gets a chance to contribute. There's even a rule about non-qualified middle inning pitchers.
Non-qualified.
Yeah, they have to come from their regular defensive position when they take the mound.
So no switching positions just to get a pitching advantage. That's clever.
It is. And to top it all off, the newsletter really emphasizes accurate score reporting. Managers are encouraged to double-check the results every day.
Why? What's the point of that?
Well, they're supposed to report any errors to make sure the playoff seeding is spot on.
Wow, they really thought of everything.
They did.
It's all about making sure everyone has a fair shot at the title. Speaking of titles,
Yeah.
have you noticed we haven't mentioned who won those Dodger versus Yankees matchups?
You're right. We got so caught up in the spirit of the tournament, we forgot about the scoreboards.
Which Dodgers teams came out on top? Did any of the Yankees squads take home the glory?
Well, the Inside Pitch newsletter doesn't actually give us the final scores.
Oh.
It focuses more on the personal stories.
Oh, okay.
And the unique aspects of the tournament.
I guess we'll have to imagine those epic battles
Right.
between these seasoned baseball legends.
But maybe that's part of the beauty of the Roy Hobbs World Series. It's more than just about who wins or loses.
Yeah.
It's about the experience, the friendships, and the love of the game that shines through in every aspect of this tournament.
All right, folks, we're going to step off the field for a moment, but when we come back, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Roy Hobbs World Series with some final thoughts. Stay tuned. And we're back for the final inning of our deep dive into the Roy Hobbs World Series.
A whirlwind of amazing stories and pure baseball passion.
You know, I thought this would be all about those classic MLB rivalries, but it's so much more than that. What really struck me was the sense of community.
I know what you mean.
And that pure love for the game.
Yeah.
That shines through everything they do.
Yeah, it makes you think about what it means to be a fan, you know?
For sure.
These guys aren't bound by geography or even team loyalty in the same way.
Like in pro sports.
Exactly.
It's like they've reached this level of fandom where it's less about who you're rooting for and more about the shared experience of playing and celebrating the sport itself.
Yeah, and that's what creates this incredible atmosphere of inclusivity. Everyone's welcome no matter what.
No matter what.
Their age, their skill level, even which team they support.
Right. It's a beautiful reminder that sometimes the strongest connections come from shared passions.
Not necessarily from agreeing on every little detail.
Exactly. Speaking of things that resonated, I have to bring up the Roy Hobbs Foundation again.
It's truly inspiring to see how they're using their platform to give back.
And support important causes.
Absolutely.
It all brings us back to Doc Pollock.
That Roy Hobbs Hall of Famer.
Yes. He's such a great example of what this tournament is all about.
Lifelong love of the game.
Dedication to giving back. A true embodiment of sportsmanship.
It makes you think about all those incredible people out there.
Living their passions.
Yeah, and making a difference even if they aren't in the spotlight.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the Roy Hobbs World Series, I think it's safe to say we discovered a whole lot more than just baseball.
We did, didn't we? We found a community bound by shared passion, a celebration of sportsmanship and camaraderie.
And a reminder that it's never too late to chase your dreams.
Well said. We saw Dodgers playing Yankees from all corners of the map, players rooting for teams they weren't even playing on. A level of heart and dedication to the game that's truly inspiring.
It really is. It makes you wonder, where does your own baseball journey take you?
What does the game mean to you?
And how has that evolved over time?
That's a great question for our listeners to ponder. And in the meantime, be sure to check out the Roy Hobbs World Series website to learn more about this amazing tournament.
Who knows? You might even be inspired to join a team yourself.
Until next time, keep swinging for the fences.